Okay.
Yeah.
Jai Radha Madhava Punjabi Bihar Jai Radha Madhava Punjabi Bihar Jai Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodhanandana Vajrayasha Yashodhanandana Vajrayasha Yamunatira Vancha Yamunatira Vancha Jai Mustafa, Bhagavatam, Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Prabhupada, and Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam, Jai Gorkanan, glory to the Samadhi, all glory to the Samadhi, all glory to the Samadhi, glory to Shivuru. Hare Krishna. Pleasure to be here after a long time. I think I can't remember actually. And to have your association. So this is the verse number 6. I was told number 8. 8? Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 The reading for Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, 27th chapter, text number 8. Indra and Purabhi offer prayers. Mamai Varya Pada Plutasya Agasaste Vidusha Prabhavam Shantu Prabodharati Mudha Chitaso Maivam Punar Bhun Matur Isha Me Sati Mamaishvarya Mata Plutasya Vitagasaste vidusha prabhavam. Shantum prabodharasi mudhachataso. Maivam gunar gun matur idishame sati. Enough? Chant.
Tatam Vaishvarya Manaplukasya Agasaste Virusabhavam
Vitagasate vidushabhibhavam.
Tatam Prabodharthasi Mudhachetaso
Shantum prabodharasi mudhachataso.
Maivam Punargum Maturishame Sati
Maivam punargum maturishame sati.
Agasaste avidusha prabhavam
Vitagasate vidushabhibhavam.
Rantum prabodharasi mudachetaso
Shantum prabodharasi mudhachataso.
Mamaevam punargum matirishame sati
Maivam punargum maturishame sati. Sa, he, from yourself, mama, of me, Aishwarya, of rulership, mother, in the intoxication, Buddhasya, who is submerged, Gita, having committed, Agasa, sinful offense, Te, your, Avidusha, not knowing, Prabhavam, the transcendental influence, Shantum, to forgive, Prabhu, O Master, Atta, therefore, Arhasi, you should, Muda, foolish, Chetasa, whose intelligence, Ma, never, Evam, thus, Puna, again, Ut, may it be, Mati, consciousness, Isha, O Lord, may my asati, impure. A translation in purports by the servants of Srila Prabhupada. Engrossed in pride over my ruling power, ignorant of your majesty, I offended you. O Lord, may you forgive me. My intelligence was bewildered, but let my consciousness never again be so impure. Please repeat. Engrossed in pride over my ruling power, ignorant of your majesty, I offended you. O Lord, may you forgive me. My intelligence was bewildered, but let my consciousness never again be so impure. Sounds familiar. Purport. Although Lord Krishna protected the residents of Braja by lifting Govardhan hill, he had not yet punished Indra himself, and Indra feared that at any moment Sri Krishna might call the son of Vivasvan, Yamaraj, who punishes impudent persons who defy the laws of God. Indra was quite fearful and thus begged the Lord's forgiveness on the plea that he could be purified only by Krishna's mercy, that he was too stubborn to learn a good lesson through mere punishment. In fact, despite Indra's humility in this case, his heart was not completely purified. Later on in this canto, we find that when Lord Krishna once took a parijata flower from Indra's kingdom, poor Indra again reacted violently against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, we should aspire to go back to our eternal home in the kingdom of Krishna and should not become entangled in the imperfect life of material God. Om Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Gurave Namaha Vichaitanyamano Vishtam Apitam Yena Bhutare Vayam Rupa Kadamanyam Tadatishva Manamtikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasad Dale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Vishesha Shunyavadi Asyasarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here we find the difference between a material prayer and a pure spiritual prayer. Indra, he's actually trying to make sure that he doesn't get punished. Being fearful, as the purport says, and this is coming from our acharyas, that Krishna will say, now I've lifted Govardhan to protect all the inhabitants, and so that's done. So now let Yamaraj deal with this rascal. And such a rascal Indra was. He attacked the cow. He was planning on killing the cows. You can imagine the depth of his illusion. Killing the residents of Vrindavan. Hailstones as big as elephants. Now you can imagine getting hit on the head. The other day, just a few weeks ago, I was in a hailstorm and I got hit by a little tiny piece of hail on the head, and it was very painful. And of course, they were bigger than us, but a hailstone as big as an elephant you'd have to be pretty big for that not to affect you. Hard-headed, of course, some of us are hard-headed, so that could also. So Indra is thinking, no, I don't want to lose my power. This is Indra's constant fault. One time, Srila Prabhupada was in Washington. Prabhupada, wherever he was, many devotees would come. So they came, and it's Sankirtan devotees, but it was raining all day, all night, all day. So one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, we want to do Sankirtan. So it seems like, Krishna and Indra should make the arrangement that it was nice weather, we can go out and do Sankirtan. The Prabhupada said, no, you are doing so much sacrifice that, Indra is fearful that you may take his position. So even up to nowadays, Indra is very fearful. Anyone who does too many austerities, just like the great sage Vibhandaka, his meditation was so intense that everyone in the three worlds was fearful of him. He was like such a renunciant. And Indra began to see his sacrifices. He said, no, he's too much. So he went quickly to see Lord Brahma and said, Brahma. Okay, he was speaking very quickly because he knew if I stay too long in Brahmaloka, my life will be over with when I get back to the heavenly planet. I said, please send someone. None of the Apsaras from my planet will go but one of your Apsaras is very powerful. So one Apsara went. It was a long story, but the point is that Indra, he always has this problem. Sometimes we may also have this problem. Everything in Shastra, we should, especially negative tendency, we should try to see how they apply to us. And especially in this case, Indra's pride. So he's admitting he has pride. He has to admit he has pride because it was obvious. It was obvious he was defeated. Even up to the 6th day of his assault on Vrindavan, he was still, the clouds came back. He sent messengers, they came back. And he said, are they devastated? No, not at all. It's been totally ineffective. But then Indra began to worry. And on the 7th day, he realized he made a big mistake. So Indra, he approaches the Lord. And in these prayers, in this particular prayer, he said, Mama Aishwarya Mada Plutasya. Plutasya generally means inundated. So I am inundated by the pride of opulence. And therefore, Queen Kunti says, Charmaishvardashritab Shivir Edavana Manapuma. That wealth, power, heritage, beauty, and knowledge, they can all be very, very dangerous unless, they can destroy the feeling of bhakti. So Indra obviously didn't know how to manage them very well. So Indra, he admits it. He has to admit it. But then he says, he's basically saying, please don't punish me. I've learned my lesson. So otherwise his understanding is impure. And the evidence is that when Krishna wanted to get a parijata flower, then he objected. These are my flowers. You can't take them. Material. Well, they don't belong in the lower planetary system. Because when Krishna takes his pastime, when performs his pastimes in this world, as Uddhava said, Yan Marta Lila Paikam Yogamayam Balam, that by your Yoga Maya, you have appeared in a human-like form, which is bewildering. Vismapanam Swasya, even to yourself, is bewildering. Even to yourself in the form of Mahavishnu. This form is so bewilderingly beautiful that he created this whole episode of stealing the Brahmin's sons just to get Krishna's darshan. Of course, the whole Govardhan Leela. Govardhan Leela is very interesting. Jiva Goswami comments that in Govardhan Leela, there was no question of the cows ever being in danger or any resident of Vrindavan ever being in danger. But the Lord wanted to have a very special pastime. And what did he want to do? He wanted to exhibit all 5 rasas at the same time. He could never do that in Vrindavan in the normal circumstances. Even sometimes when he would go into the pasturing grounds with the cows and the cowherd boys, he would pass by the gopis, the young gopis, and they would just glance, and smile, but they couldn't smile too much, and they would have to hide their smile or hide their glance because the seniors were looking upon them. So he had to create a circumstance so special, so this extreme anxiety, and everybody was off guard, and they could only see the pastime that Krishna was performing with them. Otherwise, he could never do that. So how would he do that? And Krishna is so expert. Well, Indra is very proud. But this wasn't just for Indra. It was for us. Us learning the danger of pride. It's such a dangerous thing. And we say in English, pride comes before the fall. And definitely Indra, this is like the classic case, because all of our Western sayings and philosophy have their roots in Krishna consciousness, in the Vedas. So just like Rupa Goswami, he takes many universal principles. I was explaining this yesterday to some people. Like Utsaha Nischaya Dharya. This is found in many literatures throughout the world, that enthusiasm, patience, faith, and determination. It's a psychological, but Rupa Goswami took it and put it in the context of spiritual life. This is the amazing ability of our acharyas, that they can take something which is a thread that goes through all humanity and spiritualize it to the point where it becomes an esoteric spiritual principle. So in any case, so this pride, we have to be so careful. And Indra, of course, as from this past time, Indra immediately after he realized what he had done, he went to Lord Brahma. And this was also arranged by Krishna, because Brahma just a little while before made the same mistake. He was directed to Brahma by Paramatma. And Brahma realized, I just offered my prayers. But even after Brahma offered his prayers, he felt like Krishna was not totally satisfied. Sanatana Goswami comments, the difference between Indra's offenses were unbelievable. And Brahma's offense was not so great. But because by Brahma's offense, Krishna was separated from his associates, Krishna was more disturbed by that than Indra, who caused all of Krishna's associates to come together. So even though it was a grave offense, but Krishna forgave Indra more easily. Brahma had to come again as Haridas Thakur, and to be able to fully feel that he expunged himself from the offenses caused by. So this is how much. So therefore, Lord Brahma, he says one prayer in relation to Indra's pride when he's praying to Krishna. He says that if one follows the path of the Vedas, Shruti Gatam, with Tanuvan Manubir, with one's actions, with one's words, and with one's feelings and one's thoughts, then Krishna can be conquered. Ye prayasho chita chitop yapitais. He says, even though Krishna cannot be conquered within the three worlds by anyone, he can be conquered by the love of his devotees who surrender themselves to him and follow the path, especially the path of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And of course, in our case, the path of chanting the holy name of Krishna. So this is such a special prayer. And so Indra, he could never defeat Krishna. But when he actually took a devotional mood, at least Krishna forgave him, because you brought my devotees together. So he's teaching us. And Brahma gives us another lesson, which we should learn when pride or ego or all these things attack us. Where Lord Brahma says, famous verse, Tate nukampam susamikshamana unjana evatmakritam vipakam. He says that a devotee sees anything that's happening in their life as Krishna's mercy. And therefore, they are very patiently and await for Krishna's, intervention, however it may happen, knowing well that Eva Atma Kritam, that I was the cause of this. Who knows when? Who knows what lifetime? We try to see everything in terms of this little tiny speck on the scale of time that we call our lifetime, which even in the time of one kalpa would be a point so small that it would be invisible. What to speak of the entire breath of Lord Brahma, of Mahavishnu, how insignificant, but we see everything in terms of this lifetime. We have that tendency, beginning and end, and so many things. So therefore, Lord Brahma said that you have to be careful. And Lord Brahma also gave Indra the hint by his own prayers. When he began his prayers, he saw Krishna standing before him, smiling, with butter in one hand and a herding stick in the other. And he said, now I'm seeing this form, this beautiful form, which one could easily think, here's a little boy. Here's a little boy. But I understand within that form is unlimited potency. Just like we should understand when we chant the holy name, Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis. All of Krishna's potency is here. If we remember that, then we can chant so nicely. But if we're thinking, I got to chant my rounds, that's a bad start already. I have to chant my round. And when we come to the point, I want to chant my round, I can hardly wait. As a matter of fact, I woke up earlier today because I wanted to chant. So I'm not talking about myself, theoretically speaking in my case, but I woke up today and I really wanted to chant. I always recommend, though, if you want to do that, then do what Srila Prabhupada recommended, that in night, nothing else except Krishna Katha. Before you take rest, at least 1 hour before you take nothing but Krishna Katha or chanting. And then when you wake up, your sankalpa will manifest in the form of the desire to chant. But if you're on Facebook or a business call or something else, then you may not be so enthusiastic. So pride is such a dangerous thing. When I read this, I was thinking of another man who's, of course, Daksha's pride, being so attached to the rules and regulations. He couldn't see the greatness of Lord Shiva. But a very famous pastime where the Keshava Kashmiri, so proud of his learning, he came to Navadvip. He had already got a certificate of defeat from thousands and thousands of, great Brahmins. And when the Brahmins of Navadvip heard he was coming, they all hid. And just one of them said, oh, go speak with Nimai Pandit. You should speak with him. And he arrived and saw Nimai Pandit. He kind of disguised himself, wanted to see what he was up against. Because Nimai Pandit, he saw this young boy speaking about Varnashram and grammar, student grammar, not even like an advanced grammar. He said, this is a piece of cake. And Lord Chaitanya was so showing him the proper mood of humility. Lord Chaitanya said, you speak. You're such a great scholar. I'm just a, teacher and like elementary school teacher. And so he very proudly said everything. And Lord Chaitanya said, oh, that was wonderful. He picked out the middle verse, which astounded Keshava Kashmiri. But he said, oh, that's all right. Many people are Shrutidar. Not so amazing you're going to remember something. He said, just please tell me the faults and the ornaments that exist. Well, there's no faults, and there are many ornaments. Lord Chaitanya said, he said, okay. So he pointed out the faults. Keshava Kashmiri was devastated. And when he was so devastated, the students were starting to laugh. But Lord Chaitanya stopped them. Stop them. Because just like sometimes if we become a little angry or we're a little proud, if somebody does something to us, and then we can give back at them, then we think, I told you so, we feel good. I told you so. Or sometimes pride is so great that somebody will say something to us that we've heard before. Yeah, I know. I'm knowledgeable. I know. So such a dangerous thing. So Lord Chaitanya wanted to show his students, you must be humble. And he told him, oh, don't worry. Even great poets like Kalidas, they make mistakes too, but all of their ornaments, don't worry about it. Look, come back tomorrow and we can discuss. He was so devastated, but he was saved. If Lord Chaitanya would have ridiculed him, he would have died. His pride would have been so, he wouldn't have been able to stand it. Just like Srila Prabhupada said, there was one judge in Calcutta during the time of Gandhi, and the judge was getting a lot of money. But then Subhash Chandra Bose told him, don't serve the Britishers anymore. And we'll give you a salary. We'll give you a salary, but don't serve the British. And they gave him more than practically even, plenty to live on, but he died out of anxiety. He was so used to having so much opulence. So anyway, so Lord Chaitanya treated him very gently. And Saraswati informed him, how can I give you the power to defeat that person who is my Lord? And she explained all of his incarnations. He became convinced. And when he went to see Lord Chaitanya the next day, he surrendered. He surrendered. And when he surrendered, Lord Chaitanya smiled and he said, knowledge should be only used to glorify Krishna, not to increase one's pride or increase one's position. So take this knowledge and give it to everyone so that they will be engaged in Krishna's service. And he gave up everything, gave up his elephant. He had big, So also Lord Brahma told Indra, don't go there with an elephant. Don't go there mounted on an elephant. Go there with Surabhi. And Indra sent Surabhi first. Of course, this was not Goloka Surabhi. This was a materially planet Gokaloka Surabhi. And so she went. And then she told, after she went and Krishna became very pleased by seeing her, then she indicated to Indra, you should go alone. This should be very private. And he came down and he fell down Dandavats and touched his crown on Krishna's feet, showing that this great crown, which has given me so much pride, now I surrender to your lotus feet. And when they touched his lotus feet, the crown became effulgent. Before it wasn't so effulgent, but it became effulgent. And so then Krishna gave him his mercy. Actually, when Nalakubara and Manigriva were offering prayers to the Lord, one of their prayers was not in the Bhagavatam, it's in the Puranas. One of their prayers was, previously we were like this, head up, chest out, but this did not help us. Now we take the chest back and head down. This is a much better position. This is the proper position to approach you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there's so many examples of pride and how a proud devotee, Devananda Pandit, he was so proud that he insulted Srivas Thakur. And then he was cursed. And he came to Lord Chaitanya and he said, please take this away. You are the supreme. He said, you will suffer like this for millions of lifetimes. And then he came back. He said, what can I do? He said, you have to beg forgiveness of Srivas. And he did. And immediately Srivas didn't even think there was any offense. He actually thought I was thrown out because I don't have enough attachment for Krishna's path. So therefore I was, somehow or another, I was removed. That's a devotee. So that's what we can learn from this particular text of Srimad Bhagavatam. How dangerous pride is, how dangerous opulence is, how dangerous anything that doesn't help us to surrender to Krishna, and especially as far as punishment. A devotee never sees Krishna because Krishna doesn't punish. Yamaraj punishes. But Krishna, he blesses. But his blessing may take the, as he said, that yasyaham anuvinami parisye taddanam shanai. When I especially want to favor a devotee who's still a little bit materially attached, then what do? I take away everything that's causing that attachment. Even to the point where his family members reject him. And then he only has me. And he only has me. And even this whole Govardhan pastime, why were the devotees, the residents of Vrindavan, subjected to this, supposed apparent punishment? It was because it increased their dependence on Krishna. Krishna, even though a devotee, like what the speaker of the residents of Vrindavan, Krishna shows us how, through them, through these great devotees, and what the speaker Srila Prabhupada, why did Srila Prabhupada have to go through everything he went through just to come to this country and try to save the Western world, try to save the whole world? Why did he not have success in India? Because Krishna wanted to show what is required, what does it take for us to actually become purified and to surrender to Krishna. But Srila Prabhupada explained, and I'll conclude with this. Srila Prabhupada explained, because in teachings of Queen Kunti, so he explains that when Krishna says paritranaya sadhuna, one may think, why does a sadhu need to be delivered? A sadhu is already delivered. So Srila Prabhupada explained that yes, a sadhu is being delivered to higher degrees of surrender. So Krishna is always delivering us. He's always very concerned that we become more and more attached to him. Because the more we are attached to him, the more loving exchange that Krishna can share with us. If we're not attached to him, we're not attached enough, then we see Krishna like Indra. Okay, just like when the demigods approached Lord Nrsimhadev, they all offered their prayers. But Nrsimhadev wasn't satisfied because the demigods were basically praying, well, this was a big obstacle. I'm glad you got rid of it. That was basically the essence of their prayers. And then they asked Lakshmi, do something, she said. She was so bewildered by the Yoga Maya, the powerful form of Lord Nrsimhadev. She said, I've never seen that form before. And of course she had, but she couldn't remember. And so Prasad, okay, you're the one that caused this problem. You go, please, you go. And he went. And so the surrendered devotee has such a special position. Whenever we want to get something from Krishna, then it clouds the relationship. And of course, Krishna said, I mean, the Bhagavatam says, Akama sarvakama va moksha kama udarati tivarena bhakti yogi. In any condition, just try to increase the potency, the intensity of your devotion to Krishna, of your surrender to Krishna. In any condition, that will help you to progress. So, but with the residents of Vrindavan, Krishna is showing us they're willing to accept anything just for the pleasure of Krishna. And they are our supreme gurus, our supreme instructors. And Indra, he's a bit of a Shiksha guru here, trying to help us understand. Unfortunately, he didn't learn his lesson. Because until you come to the platform of Shuddha Bhakti, which is one of the prayers, one of Indra's prayers, although he didn't quite capture it. He says in one of the previous prayers, Vishuddha, only by Vishuddha. You are Vishuddha, you're beyond, but he couldn't quite, although he theoretically understood it, he couldn't understand it perfectly. So if we can't understand something, if we could just understand it theoretically, and therefore Krishna says, Jnana Vijnana Samitam. There has to be jnana and vijnana together. They have to work together. It has to come to the point of vijnana, not just theoretical knowledge. Therefore, even when we take courses, wonderful courses that are offered in our movement, we have to always make sure that they become applied to vijnana, that we get some knowledge and we share it. We give it to others. And we take the knowledge of Srila Prabhupada's books and we give it to others. In every way, we try to just be the transparent medium through which Krishna consciousness can flow. So those are some thoughts on this verse. Anyone have a quick comment or question?
Yeah. So you were speaking about in this pride and what an obstacle pride is to devotional service. Can you offer us some tips, suggestions on how we can deal with that obstacle in our practice?
Everything that Srila Prabhupada taught us. One of the things I find most inspiring to the tip is Srila Prabhupada's life. His life is a life of humility. How Srila Prabhupada, distributed magazines in the heat of Delhi in the summer. How Srila Prabhupada didn't even have a place to live. But he was so determined to give this Krishna consciousness to everyone. Actually, Srila Prabhupada, before he came to the US, his plan was to come to Trinidad and Tobago. And he was writing to the people there. I met the man that he wrote the letters to. And he showed me that I have those letters if anybody wants to see them sometime. Beautiful letter. So Chittakananda Prabhu, when he was there, one of our older devotees, for those that don't know him, he met this man and he said, yes, your Swami was going to come. So he asked Prabhupada, so Prabhupada, you were going to Trinidad? Yeah, I thought there were many Hindus. I could, then I could go from there to get to the US. But they wanted to control me. And he said, actually, only Krishna can control. So, but then he said, and no one can control Krishna, only Srimati Radha. So I find that my tip is, of course, read the Bhagavatam, chant the holy name as Lord Chaitanya recommends. Sometimes I find it quite amazing that the Shastra, 2 verses 3 and 4, is so explicit as to what we need to do so that Durdaiva Vidvishami Hajani Nanuraga, so that we don't lose the taste for chanting. It's there, it's right there in 2 verses, but we sometimes it just kind of doesn't sink in. So Shikshastikam, Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada's life and the life of all our acharyas teach us how to be a devotee and how to avoid the pitfalls of pride and arrogance, foolishness. Anyone else very quickly? I know we're just a few minutes over. Oh, okay. So we have to greet the deities. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Puti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi.
Swami ki Hare Krishna. There was one story from Rasanath Prabhu. Radhanath Maharaj invited him to come see him, and Rasanath was an investment banker at that time. And he said, my company wants me to move somewhere away to a remote place. And so I can't come, Maharaj. And Maharaj told Rasanath Prabhu, if you are truly surrendered to Krishna, no one can tell you what to do. He shared that story. That's a very inspiring story. It stuck with me. So let's be truly surrendered. And then no one can control us, not even our senses. Okay, Rich, where are you running? Can you slow down and chant? Okay. All right. Okay. Have a wonderful day. Everybody, it was nice seeing you. The best hour of my day. Hare Krishna, Venetia, Poppy C, Rich, Amita Kishori, Didi, Dana Marie. I can only see the wall, but I know the walls have ears. And Srila Prabhupada was determined. He was willing to preach to the walls if nobody showed up to his program. No problem. So we're willing to preach to the blank screens. Black screens. Black screens. Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, everybody. Hare Krishna. Bye-bye. Bye, Dana Marie.